The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour.
ChatGPT did become the world's most downloaded non-gaming app.
Literally the job of everyone in government to address the media and the public.
What are your thoughts, audience? What are your thoughts on Zandy Silva as the deputy PLP leader?
A community that can't feed itself is a community that,
What you may not know, though, is that Bermuda, we have a connection with Epstein, too.
Things that people are doing right, the youth are doing right, that is not being advertised enough.
When you see your access to U.S. dollars disappear, that's when you have a problem.
You've got a town in the UK with a similar sized population. This place absolutely outshines it.
It's Monday, the 9th day of February, 2026. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. I'm Jamal Hartman. She's Teray Tall, and we'll have a news break from Sloan Johnson in a bit. Sister Teray, how you
feeling? Good morning. I'm feeling great.
Funny show or something? Jeez.
Well, yes, of course. When I woke up this morning, that was the first thing I checked. Like it was my morning news brief. I went to go see Benito Bowl.
Oh, so you didn't see it live. You went back to see it.
Yeah, I was sleeping when that was happening.
UK time, Jamal. You
exactly.
You know what's crazy? You know who else I think watched it?
Who?
President Donald Trump, because he wrote this long post about worst super. So I'm like, hold on, weren't you supposed to be watching Kid Rock in that?
And you know what's crazy, Jamal? I saw that too. I saw the Kid Rock. For people who don't know, Kid Rock was the artist who was performing at the Turning Point USA show. And the people in the audience, it was you, me, and 3 other people. 5 people in the audience.
Oh.
And you know what? Donald Trump could have learned something from Benito Bowl because he was listing out all the countries in America. Because, Donald Trump thinks there's just one. But
yeah.
Bad Bunny, he listed all of them. So he could have tuned in and had a little geography lesson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought it was, I didn't understand a damn thing he said, as I mentioned on social media, but I thought it was a unifying and electric performance. I don't know, audience, did you by chance have the opportunity to tune into, was it called the Benito Bowl?
Benito Bowl, the Super Bowl halftime show. Bad Bunny performed.
Yeah. I just found it fascinating leading up to this that so many Americans don't know that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, meaning they are American citizens. It's quite interesting, and it makes me question the education system, one. Two, how we prefer or I don't know if it's the word prefer, but how we are so comfortable in following our beliefs, be it religious or political, over education, right? Like, information is too accessible. But something I learned leading up to Super Bowl, and this ain't our conversation, folks, we'll get there. Something I learned is English wasn't even the first language spoken in the United States.
Well, yes.
I mean, I should have known that, right? But Jamal, come on, duh. Maybe you should have paid attention in school.
But I don't think that's a incorrect assumption. Like the way people talk about America, it's like they erase any other history or any other lineage, right? So it just seems like a very Anglophone country, but it's not. And Spanish is like the second most common spoken language in the US. About 13 to 14% of the population in the US speaks Spanish, right? So it's like, that's the second largest Spanish speaking country after Mexico. It's the US. So it's like, they do a good job hiding those facts, I think.
They certainly do. Yeah. Teray, is this your first show of the year, of like 2026?
Wait, it is. Oh my gosh, it is.
Oh, well, look who's finally showing up to work, folks. See, I thought I'd thought about it.
Are you serious?
I'd have threw some shade her way. But welcome back. Welcome to 2026, right?
Thank you. I mean,
All
I'm
right.
happy to be here. For those who don't know, I'm currently in school, so I am showing up to work in some instances. But yeah, I'm happy to be back.
She's probably playing hooky from there too. All right, folks. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome the Minister of Cabinet Office and
Digital.
Cabinet and Digital Innovation.
Yes.
Yeah. Diallo Rabain's coming on. So looking forward to the conversation. We're talking about the modernizing Bermuda's electoral system. Now, this is something that my co-host here is very passionate about, as well as so many others. You all know me. They removed me from the voter registry. So, like, that's my fight. But, I mean, I'm sitting in the cut while this is taking place. But I heard the minister show up to something. So hopefully he tells us about that, because I saw some people online really mad at him for like what they say he ducked him or something. He didn't show up.
I was there. I was at the town hall, so I got it firsthand. I felt the palpable irritation. So I'm definitely going to ask the minister about that.
Okay. Teray was into his house. All right, folks. The Daily Play is going to be some Bermuda Black History trivia from the Bermuda Trivia collection. And do us a favor, if you haven't already, do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, folks, here are your questions of the morning. On Thursday, I kind of told you, I said, I don't like to gossip. But I found out a little something, that there was a vote of no confidence in the OBA leader. Now, you know me. That's the same thing I did last year, January, when I told you about Michael Fay, rumors about Michael Fay in the mix to becoming a candidate for the OBA. Well, anyway, it all turned out to be true. And I know everyone was emailing us and hitting us up saying, I need you guys to have a show on Friday. This is crazy. Well, here are the questions of the morning. What are your thoughts on the state of the One Bermuda Alliance? And just a yes or no, do you think the One Bermuda Alliance should dissolve? Well, where does this come from? Well, let's put it this way. It's a major shift in our political landscape. The vote of no confidence in the now former opposition leader, Robert King, and the subsequent decision by OBA MPs and caucus to appoint Ben Smith as the new leader of the opposition. These kinds of moments matter, not just for one party, but for Bermuda's democracy as a whole. The opposition is there to play a critical role.
Yep.
To hold government to account, to present alternative ideas, and to give voters a meaningful choice. So when there's turmoil within that opposition, it naturally raises questions about stability, legitimacy, and direction. Supporters of the move argue this was about leadership effectiveness and the need for a more collaborative approach going forward. Critics argue it undermines the will of party members who had only recently chosen Mr. King as its leader, and that it deepens internal fractures at a time when unity is essential. Now, Ben Smith says this marks a collaborative turn for the OBA, an effort to steady the ship, rebuild trust, and refocus on the issues facing Bermudians. But there's a bigger question here sitting underneath all of this. Is this a necessary reset that strengthens the opposition, or a sign of deeper structural problems within the party itself? Some have gone even further, asking whether the OBA, as currently constituted, can remain a credible opposition force, or whether it needs fundamental reinvention, or even considering dissolving to restore public confidence. Folks, you see the questions on the screen.
This is a lot.
What are your
Jamel, before we get into it, I need to take us back in time. Do you remember when you, Teo, and I were having our end of year show and we were discussing the politics of the year, and you said, let's talk about predictions. What was one of your predictions for 2026?
My first prediction was that Robert King will not be the leader of the opposition by the end. Well, I said by next year this time. Well, I mean, I could have said this in a month or two.
Hello?
But see, I don't think I explained why, did I?
No, you didn't. And maybe it's because, you said you don't like to spread rumors, you don't like to be like the bearer of bad news, but you were on point like an arrow. So tell us why. What were you thinking then and what are you thinking now?
And this is, let me be very clear. If you ever hear me criticize a politician, it's not personal. I have never brought up anyone's personal life, their family. I don't care about that stuff. What I care about is what you're there to do in serving the public. Mm-hmm. From the onset, I didn't politically like Mr. King. I did not feel the love from Mr. King. I didn't feel that Mr. King was one who people would gravitate toward. Now, some of you may say, well, people don't gravitate towards David Burt. I'm going to tell you, like I said last week, like him or not, David Burt knows how to work a room. He knows how, whether it requires alcohol to loosen him up or not. And I'm not being facetious. I'm being dead serious in saying that. And he knows how to win an election. I never saw any qualities in Mr. King that told me that he can go in rooms where he's uncomfortable and engage people. I never saw anything in Mr. King that said, I can bring people together. Again, there was a pandemic. In hindsight, many people feel differently, but David Burt was the man. I don't think if a pandemic happened, Robert King would have, and I'll tell you where my opinion really changed of Mr. King. And you were present when I watched that town hall at St. Paul A&Me, and he stood up, and I said,
First one to speak. Also, by the way, the first one to open the questions of the town hall that was for the public.
That's not true. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but I said, this seems like someone who wants to be loud and heard, but yet he's not effective. And so from that, I just felt like if he can't bring those in his party together, what chance did the rest of Bermuda stand? Folks, this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. But I mean, does my reasoning make sense, Terry?
I think it does. I think your reasoning absolutely makes sense. And it's crazy that you talk about the town hall, because that's also when my perspective on Robert King shifted as well, because this was the town hall to address like gang crime and the increase in violence for the public, right? Like the governor was there, the Minister of National Security, Michael Weeks, was there, and other people were there. And I was jarred by that, because I'm like, why is the leader of the opposition being the first one to speak instead of taking out his notepad and writing notes and listening to what the people are saying? That was like a shift for me. I had never been wowed by like his charisma or his presence, but to be honest, I don't need to. Like he presents to me like a technocrat, like somebody who knows the rules and wants to enforce the rules. Yes. And I think that's fine. I don't think it's enough, but I don't think it's like terrible. But once I saw him at the town hall speak first, that's when I was like, no, this can't work. Like when I think of a leader, I couldn't imagine him doing that, like leading in the right way and speaking first. Because I'm thinking of like an Obama or like, just somebody who has gravitas and the ability to command a room.
Tori, you said something that I think I failed to mention that highlights one of my biggest issues. You said that he was the first one to speak instead of taking a notepad and taking note, right? And I think that was part of it. He wanted people to know I was in the room. Mm-hmm. And I think, no, be the listener. If anything, make sure you speak before you leave toward the end. But this is for the public to, share their opinions, hear them. And then after they're done, then you speak and say, I've heard what everyone had to say. I'm going to take this back to my colleagues. And this is what these are some of the things that we're going to present and so on. But that right there, what you said, it came across as he's not a good listener. And based on the vote of no comment, and then this is gossipy, right? I'm going to say it. I try not to do it. But there were 2 MPs not in the picture. And I'm starting to think something. And tell me if I'm wrong, audience. If the only MP you have in your corner is Michael Fay, the most disliked, the probably most disliked member of parliament in Bermuda. I'm not quite sure, Mr. King, it was ever going to work out for you. Now, Dwayne Robinson also wasn't in that picture, but I'm not going to put him there. I just don't think that, you know what I'm saying? He may have not been there for other reasons, but something's wrong with that picture. Let's go to the audience, to Ray. Again, audience, what are your thoughts on the state of the One Bermuda Alliance? And do you think the One Bermuda Alliance should dissolve for the benefit of Bermuda? Like, do you think that they should dissolve? Well, WKD Lama says Bermuda needs an opposition, but it does not need to be the OBA.
Clock that.
Sean Smith says, I think the OBA should dissolve itself and fade away. It's an unstable party. Okay. Sean Smith says the OBA is on its 10th leader in its short 15 years compared to the PLP 12th after 63 years. Wow. Is that true? The PLP's only had 12 leaders in 63 years?
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I have to double check.
If that can't be true, that is sick history, comparatively speaking, if that's true.
Well, I mean, I can double check the stats, but the underlying principle of like the shift in leadership is real. Because I think after Michael Dunkley, no one has served as long as Michael Dunkley since, right? Like he was the longest serving person for the OBA, I think.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I mean, once they dumped and ousted, Craig Kenner.
Yeah. So, I mean, like the principle of stability is like the point is real. I think like the OBA has had a lot of instability. So when Ben Smith says that this is a turning point for the OBA and a shift, it really better be, because otherwise, like I really think that this is the crux where they rise and meet the occasion, or someone else fills the space, which is really important. Like, I mean, I struggle with this, Jamal, because I think like right now in this current phase in Bermuda, we really do need a strong opposition. And when we talk about like independence and like sovereignty, I'm like, that requires not only a government, but a strong opposition, right? Because then the guardrails are going to be fresh and new. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
Yeah, it is, Teray. It really is. Michelle White says an opposition is necessary, and to dissolve a party to create a new one causes an identity crisis with the party which was done UBP to OBA. They need to move forward while strengthening their identity. No, I don't think that's the point, though, Michelle. And that's part of the problem we have the OBA we do. It's not about dissolving this party to create a new one with the same people. I think that's why people are rejecting this. That's not how you dissolve a party. If you're going to dissolve it, it needs to dissolve and everyone associated probably needs to go away. Or, you keep those who probably like the Dwayne Robinsons and probably the Miss Talkers, Dr. Kudos, the ones who probably have a different mindset. And maybe you steal away a few of the people from the PLP who have been sitting in the backbenches and have issues, right? So I don't think that's the way to look at it, Michelle. I know that's our recent history. But that UBP to BDA to OBA thing, we've seen the document. They can deny it all they want, right? It's not about changing the name of the organization. It's about killing one and up comes a new, completely different new one. Maybe called Bermuda Youth Connect or something like that, It has to be an organization. So, we've got Sean Smith. He shares the leaders for the PLP. So, man, our audience doing the work, boy.
This is it. Thank you.
My goodness. So yes, Mr. Arnold Francis, and then right out to, that is incredible. Okay, hold on. So no, this is incredible. This is incredible because when you consider the One Bermuda Alliance from inception, when they went from the BDA to the OBA, it never felt authentic. It never felt real. And if you go back to the 2012 election and what happened in St. George with John Gibbons in the last couple of weeks being replaced by Renee Ming, It was almost kind of similar to Kamala Harris, former Senator Kamala Harris and VP in the United States, taking over in the last days pretty much to run for president of the United States. And when you consider that Nandi Outerbridge got over the line because there was a, UBP leader on the ballot, Kim Swan, then you start to think that they didn't really win that election. And I've said it for years, the PLP lost it. And we don't talk about what happened in constituency 2 enough, because that literally changed Bermuda. Now, I say the same thing about the Democrats. We have Trump because the Democrats were impatient. That's why we have President Trump today, right? And once the work, you put in all that work with the elderly Joe Biden for 2020, this was always likely going to happen. With the One Bermuda Alliance, people have said it for years. The BDA should have never merged with the, UBP, the OBA thing. But people were impatient. And because of that, you got lucky with the PLP losing in 2012. And I just don't see, no matter how disgruntled people are with the PLP, I don't see, and maybe I'm wrong, Teray, you're in different conversations, I cannot see how they can become government again in my lifetime if I lived another 50 years. I just don't. And that's saying a lot, because the PLP has not been, to most, the best. But as I said after the election last year, a good friend of mine works in the IB sector, said, look, the thought of the One Bermuda Alliance returning to government scares the living daylights out of me.
Whoa.
Didn't explain, but the fact that someone who is politically aware but not politically involved, has a great career, feels that way. And then you have these leadership issues taking place. It doesn't bode well, it doesn't give confidence. So Are you telling us that if the OBA were, because someone suggested that, I think it was Ray Kai Emery, he said, no. He said, I think it was him, yeah, he said, man, David Burt should call a snappy election. No. If he did, you all would say, oh, he's so evil. But I'm going to tell you something. Sir John may have done it, boy. Sir John may have done it. I'm telling you, you know anything, Sir John may have called a snap. No, I'm not trying to give the premier any ideas. He don't listen to me anyway, but many ideas. But man, that'd be some political strategy. And I don't think people, the instability, as you mentioned earlier, Teray, I don't think people will go for it. I don't.
Yeah,
so, I mean, that question, do I think the OBA should dissolve? I don't think I answered it. I'm not quite sure, because they have some good people involved in there. They do.
Yeah.
But they have to get together soon. Go ahead, sorry.
Jamel, I mean, that's an interesting proposition for the PLP to call a snap election, but I don't think the premier would do it either, because they have their own election in a couple months in October, right? So there's going to be a lot of shifts and a lot of uncertainty. Maybe after that, after the election, in the PLP, the leadership conference, maybe we'll see some movings and some happenings. But yeah, no, it's just generally a volatile period. And I think I'm with you. I'm not sure whether the OBA should dissolve. I think, like, practically as of today, no, because I just want to have an opposition, like, point blank period. But it's really important what comes next, like what Ben Smith and his team does. Like, they need to repair, reboot, and rebuild. Like, they need to inspire confidence ASAP. So I hope they do it for the sake of Bermuda's democracy, but long term, something definitely needs to change. I mean, we kind of got wind of it last year around this time with all the independents and the FTM and the Imperial Group. Like, there's interest, right? Like, there's political interest. But I also want to see, like, competence and ability and standards, right? Like, it can't just be, I want to serve, so I will serve. I think it's great if you have a heart for service, but I also would like to see a brain and an attitude for service. So those are the things that I'll be looking for coming out of the OBA in the next couple months, because I think if they get this right, it can put them on a path to being saved. But if they get this wrong, then yeah, they really might have no other choice but to dissolve.
Yeah, folks, your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan, Express, and Secure. Let's show them some love. Don't forget, after that, we'll give you the Bermudian Icon of the Week. Last week, we started with Dr. Angela Berry. I think you'll all be I'm excited with who we're honoring this week as far as our Bermudian icon. But first, let's show some love to Titan Express and Secure.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Titan Express delivers safe, professional, and reliable transportation and tours across the island. From island tours to cultural experiences, they set the standard. And Secure is your go-to for property management, waste management, and residential and commercial services. Visit securebda.com. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is their commitment to you.
Alrighty, let's go to the news break. After the news break, we'll do the days of the year, and we will do this week's Bermudian icons. Let's go to Sloan Johnson.
Good morning, Bermuda. I'm Sloan Johnson, and this is the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by Peoples. Here's what you need to know to start your week. This past weekend, road users were advised of traffic delays due to a downed utility pole between the Crowell Hill Esso station and the Marketplace supermarket. Police were also on scene at a partially collapsed wall on Somerset Road near the junction with Lantana Road. Motorists are advised to use caution when traveling through these areas. Around 1:20 p.m. on Saturday, February the 7th, police and other emergency services were dispatched to reports of a serious collision involving a car and a motorcycle on Scotts Hill Road, Sandys, near the junction with Bob's Valley Road. The driver of the car is not believed to have been injured. However, the passenger sustained facial injuries and the motorcyclist has sustained what is believed to be serious facial injuries. Witnesses are asked to contact PC Imani Scott on 211 or email iscott@bps.bm. The Bermuda Reserve Police also welcomed 7 new officers into voluntary service, marking another step forward in community safety and support. Young artists across the island are being invited to get creative for Oral Health Month. The Department of Health has opened its annual poster competition for children ages 4 to 16, with this year's theme, A Happy Mouth is a Happy Life. Entries must be submitted in person to the Hamilton Clinic by February the 20th. All posters will be on display at City Hall later this month. The City of Hamilton has also announced its 2026 signature events calendar, with everything from Fresh Air Films in April to Summer Sunday City Fun Day in July, Taste of Bermuda in October, and of course, my holiday favorites, the City Tree Lighting and the Christmas Boat Parade to close out the year. The full calendar can be viewed on the City of Hamilton website, cityofhamilton.bm. In celebration of Black History Month, the Hamilton Princess will honor 3 outstanding Bermudians at its annual dinner on February the 27th. Recognizing former Justice Charles Ada Simmons, journalist Glenn Jones, and legal leader Sophia Greaves. And finally, nominations are now open for the 2026 BEDC Business Awards happening March the 21st, celebrating Bermudian entrepreneurs and small business. Nominations close February the 15th. You can nominate your favorite local business at bedc.bm. In weather today, we're looking at sunny spells throughout the day with a few showers still passing through, but those should ease up overnight. It'll be quite breezy out there today with strong northwesterly winds and some early gusts reaching near gale force before settling down to moderate to strong by this evening. Temperatures will stay brisk with a high around 14 degrees Celsius or 57 degrees Fahrenheit and a low near 12 degrees Celsius or 54 degrees Fahrenheit overnight. So bundle up and definitely hold on to that umbrella. That's your Monday Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by Peoples. Stay warm this week, Bermuda. I'm Sloan Johnson. Now back to the studio.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Sloan. All right, folks. If you haven't already, you want to go on your favorite social media platform and follow Bermudian Icons. Today, as we stated, this series brought to you by Teo and Teray and Kamala in the background who are putting together these. It was out of the conversation with Dr. Ewart Brown on this show last year when people were up in arms about not naming a national hero. And Dr. Brown reminded us when we created National Heroes Day, we understood that not everyone is a hero. People will do heroic things, but that doesn't mean that they're a national hero. And he used Bob Marley as an example, who is not a recognized national hero, despite you mentioned Jamaica, and the first name out of anybody's mouth is usually Bob Marley. So today, please join us in celebrating the person that we're recognizing today as a Bermudian icon.
Mr. Robert K. Horton is one of those teachers who taught lessons, but also shaped lives. He's known to generations of students as RKH, as his journey began in the classroom where he taught English language and literature at the Berkeley Institute. His leadership was recognized early, and just at 28 years old, he became deputy principal of the Berkeley Institute, guiding one of the island's most important institutions with firmness, fairness, and care. From education, his service expanded to the wider public sphere. Mr. Robert Horton went on to serve Bermuda as a senior education officer, as assistant cabinet secretary, and permanent secretary, lending his steady hand and thoughtful judgment to the work of the government. He was always principled, always prepared, and he carries a reputation of care for students. His commitment to excellence was grounded in learning. He pursued his studies across the United Kingdom, across Canada, and returned home, ready to equip other youngsters with knowledge, perspective, and determination to serve his community. Mr. Robert K. Horton reminds us that education builds history, that service is lifelong, and that the quietest leaders often leave the deepest mark. This is Bermuda Icons. If you know someone whose life and work deserves recognition as a Bermudian icon, send us a direct message on social media. Their story may be the next one we tell.
You know, he gave me permission to call him Uncle Bobby. He was one of my mom's favorite people, and I shared it on the show before. I didn't have the pleasure of being educated by Mr. Horton, but whenever I would see him, he was never interested in speaking. Oh, hey, how's your mother doing? He in government, and he just has an incredible personality. You can be having a bad day, and his energy just shifts the entire room. And truthfully, I did not know how much he contributed to Bermuda. And my mother told me, he's not just a permanent secretary, Mr. Horton, you know, this and that. And so I love that. An audience, if you don't, whether, you know, YouTube, or on Facebook, on your favorite social media platform, TikTok or Instagram, follow Bermudian Icons. It's, you know, our job and our pleasure to continue celebrating so many people who have made great contributions to the island that we love. Ray, do you have any days of the year for us?
I do. Today is National Pizza Day.
Oh.
And pizza is like one of my favorite foods. But I was thinking about a question to ask you in the audience. What is your favorite topping on a pizza?
Oh, that's easy. So
pineapple?
What?
Is that outlandish?
You said pineapple, like fruit on a pizza?
Yeah, and it's good.
Well, see, I'm not going to disrespect you because I don't eat cheese on my pizza, and I'm really sick of people criticizing me for eating pizza with no cheese. Again, I told you all, I go to restaurants, and it's not just one restaurant anymore. So what would you like? Can I get the margarita pizza with no cheese? Judging me. No, well, that's not
pizza with no cheese?
Yeah.
Jamal, what about vegan cheese?
It sticks to the top of my mouth. It doesn't. I have to find a vegan cheese that makes sense. My favorite topping, though, it's got to be jalapeno peppers.
Jalapenos. Okay, that redeems you. That redeems you a little bit. I can't get over the no cheese. I didn't know that about you, but I'm not surprised.
Says the pickles popcorn lady.
Well, yes. Says the pickles popcorn lady. Yes.
That's so normal now. Ever since you said that, I see it in so many stores. What's your favorite topping on a pizza, Teray?
My favorite topping on a pizza would have to, I'm typically just like a cheese girl. Like I just love cheese pizza. But if I was doing it big, it would be like feta cheese, spinach, some drizzle, some balsamic, and pineapple.
You've got a friend.
See, WKD Llama, I see you. You see me. Feta on a pizza with a drizzle of pepper oil is fire. See, that's a sophisticated palate right there.
Another one, the pineapple stuff.
It's good.
Okay.
It's good.
We got to take a break. Let us know your favorite topping on your pizza. What do you think the minister Rabain? You think his favorite topping is?
I think he's definitely not as weird as you. He probably has cheese on the pizza. That's for sure. There's cheese on the pizza. But maybe.
Why is she doing me like this? This is our first time seeing each other all year, and she just said, not as weird as me.
Maybe he's like an Indian man, like, or sardines or bacon or maybe pineapple. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We've got the minister coming up. Very important conversation. Modernizing Bermuda's electoral system. But even more important than that, we're going to judge him based on what he puts on his pizza. And we'll get to your pizza comments as well. Stick with us.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Take a look at our workbook for construction workers and tradesmen. Durable, stretchable in all the right places, and plenty of options for tools and accessories. Paired with our wide range of tough and comfortable footwear, you can't go wrong. As you can see, Medical House really is a one-stop shop for everybody. We can't wait to see you.
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
What if the age that really matters isn't the one on your ID? You probably know your chronological age, the number of candles on your last birthday cake. But there's another kind of age that may be even more important, your biological age. This reflects how old your body truly is at the cellular level. It is influenced by your genes, your environment, and the choices you make every day. Two people can both be 40 years old on paper, but one may have the body of a healthy 30-year-old, while the other is biologically closer to 50. The difference? Lifestyle choices on nutrition, sleep, stress, exercise, and exposure to toxins. That means you have some control over your biological clock, and that's exactly what makes it so powerful. Because when it comes to aging, it's not just about living longer, it's about living better. Want to know your predicted biological age today? Download the free Genetics app and fill in the lifestyle questionnaire.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. To Ray Tall, I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 107.5, ensuring that we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, please don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Real quickly, go through some comments. We did have Ms. Ellen Kate Horton, the sister of Mr. Robert K. Horton, says, all right, Bob. Yes, Mr. Horton says, Rosalind famous. And Assembly Gail Dills says, congratulations, Mr. Horton. When R.K. Horton spoke, everyone listened. No teacher quite like him. And then we had Ms. Horton also says, Jamel, Uncle Bobby says, thank you. He's shocked and honored. Absolutely. And you know me, we're all like that. And by the way, I can't take credit for that. That team has their full thing. I'm just glad they're choosing the right people. Real quickly, before we bring the minister in, we did ask favorite toppings, and we've got Rosalind Famous said pineapple and ground beef together.
Oh, yes. Oh, that sounds lovely.
Yeah, we've got pineapple, bacon, black olives, onions, and chicken, says Renee Simmons.
Also lovely.
Pineapple on pizza is a must, says Emily Dill. C.A. Marks says, my favorite is from a Lebanese pizza shop in Dallas. It's called a Veggie Delight on thin crust. Olive oil, onions, mushrooms. What's that? Kalamata olives? What's the difference between those? Oh, I said olive oil. I thought it was two different types of olives. My bad, folks. It's oil, not an olive. My apologies. Tomatoes, spinach, feta, and mozzarella. That's a lot of cheese.
It sounds Lord Jamal.
That's a lot of cheese. let's bring in the minister, folks. We're behind time, so hopefully he could stick around for us. And I know you all play. Oh, he's got things to do. Well, you know, this is part of his job. He wants to talk to you. All right. Well, let's give a warm TDH welcome to Minister Diallo Rabain, folks. We're talking modernizing Bermuda's electoral system. Greetings, Minister.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody.
Before we go any further, because Teray is here judging me about not my pizza toppings, my lack thereof of a certain topping. So we need to know, we've got to set the tone for the conversation. This is a very important conversation. Tell us your toppings, Minister.
First of all, I'm with you. Fruits do not belong on cooked food. They only belong
get
on
out of
desserts,
here.
Period.
Get out of here.
See?
Pineapples, even tomatoes. I don't like how people have tomatoes on hamburgers and stuff. I can't take fruits on cooked food, but I will take them in cooked desserts. In terms of pizza, as long as it's I'm a meat lover, so anything with meat on top of the pizza, as long with pepper flakes as well, because I like spicy.
Okay.
So there's cheese on the pizza.
Yes, definitely cheese. I've never heard of the non-cheese thing, but I will actually try that, Jamal.
Thank you.
And see how it goes.
Jamal, the minister just wants to appease you and make you happy, because there's no way he's gonna try that.
Why not? Just think about it. It's essentially focaccia bread with marinara sauce.
So just have a focaccia bread with marinara sauce.
Just think about it from that perspective.
Exactly. Thank you. Anyway,
All
Minister,
right.
you're not here.
All right. I see the men are sticking together today. Got this.
Ties me about my pizza choices and my food choices. But no, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your patience. Teray talks a lot. She was going on about the OBA this morning. So forgive us for the length of time it took to get you on.
Yes,
but hopefully
interesting times with the Bermuda's opposition right now.
Well, I mean, since you said that, do you have an opinion you want to share before we get into today's conversation?
Actually, I don't really concern myself about their ons and their goings. I will say that I did reach out to Ben. So I was traveling last week. I only returned back to Bermuda on Thursday evening, so all of this had already gone down. But I did reach out to Ben Smith on Thursday to just congratulate him on his new post and wish him the best. I'm from that old school level of politics where a lot of conversations do take place in the background that the public may not be accessible to. And Ben Smith is one of those politicians I do have a lot of time for, and would often reach out just to say, hey, you know what, so we can collaborate versus looking like we're just always arguing with each other. And
that's good.
And I always have any time for any one politician to, if they want clarity on something that I feel that they may not be espousing clarity on, I'm always available to have those conversations.
That's good to know, and thank you for sharing that. We're talking about modernizing Bermuda's electoral system today. Before we even get into the meat of the conversation, just explain what electoral reform is.
Well, electoral reform is something that had been on the Progressive Labor Party's platform since the 2017 platform, actually, when we first talked about electoral finance, campaign financing reform. It entered into our platform this time around when we also talked about the requirement to have absentee balloting added. And in our platform, you see, we specifically say for students who are currently studying overseas that qualify to vote, that is an important qualifier there. But it's about improving the system. And that's not to say that the system doesn't currently work. It actually works very, very well. But like with all things, it can always use a critical eye and modernization. Our system that we currently have was built for the two-party system, and some of the things that happen within it are more of unwritten rules versus something that's hard, fast, and put down on paper. And so that is what we are intending to do. And so when we look at this, we say electoral reform is about the system. It's not just about one singular idea. And our job has always been, and I made mention of this as far back as when I assumed this portfolio and we did the budget debate, that this is about building the policy first with input from the people. And this is why we decided to go the route that we do. And it's critically important that we protect the integrity of our elections. And we could get in, if you come to if you had been to any of the town halls, I would go into the historic evolution of our elections to get us to where we are, and some of the mistrust that, believe it or not, still exists amongst some of our residents locally.
I guess this is, I won't get into it today because I've had these conversations for years, but you did emphasize students who are, what was that second part? Eligible.
Eligible.
Which I think is quite harsh because there are so many Bermudians outside Bermuda who actually contribute. And I think that, we have to have a conversation, but I appreciate baby steps. I appreciate baby steps to what's happening. So I don't, and that's why, for me, it's not about chastising the government or about this right now. It's really to understand, process. I would love to vote, but at the end of the day, right now, I am excited that young people who have been fighting for this are in this conversation. And you emphasized that this reform must be thoughtful and research based. Why was it so important for government not to rush this process straight into legislation, especially with a bill being tabled by the One Bermuda Alliance on this?
Well, it's a couple of things there. But first, I want to speak on something you just said, and it's almost as if you were inside one of our meetings, because I did speak of it as baby steps. One thing that I've recognized being in portfolio, my previous one, is that there are some things that people enthusiastically gravitate towards, and that's typically the big idea, but they're not necessarily prepared for the steps it takes to kind of get there. And so I refer to this as, the leap is everybody wants absentee balloting. The baby steps is, well, how is this actually going to work? Who is going to be eligible, and those things. And so I know there are some people who are very enthusiastic about let's just do it and get it over with. But what we've found is the comments we've gotten back is, hey, let's take our time and make sure this is done correctly as we move forward with it.
So I'm going to take us back.
And what was the second part of your question? I do want to answer that part, because I know I was focused on you saying baby steps, and I was like, that was the exact language that I've been using. But you did ask.
No, it was really just why was it important to not rush it? Because again, piece of legislation the OPA did put forward.
For us, it's once you table and pass legislation, what we did not want to do is come back with amendments, because then it takes away from the gravity of that particular piece of legislation. And interestingly, I'm a real studier of things that have been said, and I came across multiple reiterations where the One Bermuda Alliance would say, hey, you guys rushed with this piece of legislation. It could have used some time for us to really talk about it. Now you're bringing back amendments. Now you're doing this and you're doing that. And when we look at changing the way persons are allowed to vote and the qualifications, because that's an important one as well, that allow persons to be eligible to vote. When you put that all together with the history of the voting franchise in Bermuda, it's not something we definitely want to just rush down the road and say, hey, let's put this in place and then figure out how it's going to work later. Let's have those conversations of what it takes to actually make this work, and then put the legislation in place that fits what it is that the people have come back and relatively agreed to. And I say relatively because I do know that once we put this forward in September as we scheduled, there are still going to be persons who say we've gone too far, or persons who say we haven't gone far enough.
So speaking about what people are saying, public engagement recently ended with the last town hall being in the West. What was the main response or concern from the public during these town halls?
What I found interesting was listening to the stories of persons. We heard things that you probably we shouldn't hear in Bermuda when it comes down to the actual voting process. People were very interested in the campaign financing part. Questions were asked like, okay, if I donate my $20, will I have to be named? We talked about accessibility at the polling stations as well. We heard stories of persons who showed up to vote, but were unable to because of accessibility issues. We heard that people want I guess you would call it the early voting, to be expanded to where persons could vote either on the day of or early vote. There should be you shouldn't really have to have a choice between that, or have fall under certain circumstances such as traveling or certain things like that. And what we saw from our election was the amount of persons who did take advantage of those optional ways to vote has increased over the years. So it does show that there is a popularity towards that. But for the most part, and of course we heard from persons who have worked elections, and they're on their disagreement with how this last election process took place. And this is where we highlight when we're talking about the pillar, when we talk about election day processes, on how we need to look at that and how those work in a 2026, where you have not just two parties but multiple parties, independents, and the like. And so those were some of the things that we really had insight on, that we didn't think that we would actually have much comment on. We thought most of it would be around the absentee balloting, but I think most people are happy that absentee balloting is something that will be introduced. There were questions about the security of it. I do know there was a few questions about will it be mail-in balloting, and while very few things have been ruled out, that is one of the things that has been ruled out, mail-in balloting, and we will be doing a fully electronic version of it once it is implemented. And it was questions about, well, who could be eligible. As we said, the Progressive Labor Party's platform said students, but there are questions that came up about persons who might be away on medical leave, persons who might be away on work secondments, and the like. So those are things that will go into the pot. And as we look to put together this working group to take all the research that we've done and formulate what our policy could look like, and then we'll go back out to the public. We'll start to see a more concrete framework put together once we have that process in place.
Indeed. Before you go to Ray, real quickly, audience, if you have any questions or comments for the minister, you can send them through. We'll get through as many comments and questions as possible. Go ahead, Terry. Sorry.
Yeah, so I was at the final town hall in the West, and it would be remiss if I didn't say that the room was kind of palpably disappointed that you missed it. And I know some news outlets covered it after. Is there anything that you would like to say to the people who were in the room, or the people who were just concerned that you weren't there, to reassure them?
Sure. Teray, I had attended the 6 previous town hall meetings in person and the 2 online ones we had specifically for students who were not on. And so on the final night, it was unfortunate, but I was required to remain in cabinet for a meeting that went longer than expected. It in my lifetime of just under 8 years as a cabinet minister, we've never had a meeting that has gone after 9 p.m. And so it was the gravitas of the situations that we were discussing that I was simply not allowed, because cabinet does reign supreme over everything. And we know we don't schedule anything to happen during a Tuesday, but something after hours is typical, but it just happened that way. I decided after having conversation with my aide, Mr. Talbot Ward, that I gave him the go ahead to say, it's the same presentation that I've done. Persons will still be able to voice their opinion, and that information is collected. They'll still be able to sign up for the mailing list, and they'll still be able to ask questions anonymously. As you were there, there's a QR code in virtually all of the slides where persons can scan that on their phone and ask questions anonymously if they did not wish to voice their opinion, at those meetings. So all of that was still in place, and the feedback that was received at that meeting, including all of the previous ones before that, will be used in the same way.
Yeah. Okay. On that, there was also something that was mentioned at that town hall, which was that the deadline for this bill is this year, September. Do you think that that's a bit too ambitious, or based on the progress and updates, you think you'll be able to meet that?
Based on what we're doing and the timelines that we set out for this, that is very well achievable. We are in now February. We're finalizing some research on the financing part of it, campaign financing part, by collecting, looking at sister islands as well as comparable jurisdictions around the world to see how it is they do it. And I do it. And as you would have heard in the town hall meeting, we are following guidelines set by the CPA, or the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. They have come up with benchmarks for elections, for campaign financing and the like. So we're not just doing something that is unheard of anywhere, but we do recognize that whatever we do and pull from other places, it has to be Bermudianized, and it has to adhere to our culture. And so we cannot just bring stuff in and just say, hey, it worked over there, so it must work over here. It has to be altered so we can make sure that it works for our culture. And so as long as we stick to those guidelines, we'll certainly be ready for the 2 sessions that are already scheduled for September, one to lay the legislation and the other one to hopefully approve it with bipartisan support across the board.
Again, in the 2025 throne speech, absentee balloting is mentioned, belonging to status is mentioned, and also reducing the number of seats in the House is mentioned. Has this also followed through? Like, is this going to be like an omnibus bill where you address each point, or is the main focus like absentee balloting? Like, what shape do you think the bill is going to take right now?
Well, this bill can only address the what happens within the Parliamentary Election Act. When we talk about reduction of seats and things like that, that is a constitutional amendment that needs to take place, and that is an entirely different process. And trust me, that's not a process that happens in 18 months. That is a process that will take a lot more time. I do know that the Attorney General is currently doing constitutional reform. That's part of her remit. And so I cannot speak to if that is going to be one of the points that is being discussed in terms of the reduction of seats and the like. But that would come from a constitutional amendment versus the amendment to the Parliamentary Act, which is what we're currently working on.
Okay, and last one for me. Back again in the budget debate in 2025, you announced that these electoral reforms would come about in a deliberate and a phased way. Can you take me back in time about the intention and the rationale for electoral reform pre-May 2025?
Again, it's about, as I mentioned earlier, it's about modernizing our electoral process. Looking at it in the thrones in the election platform, it spoke about electoral finance reform and the absentee balloting, and so we're looking at that. But once we had a conversation with the Parliamentary Registrar soon after the election. The first opportunity I had a chance to meet with her. We also talked about some of the issues that had arisen during this actual election and some of the things that she would like to have put in place. And so those are the things that were added when we talk about the election day processes and putting together a solid playbook that everyone can play by the same rules in terms of polling stations and et cetera. And then we also added in there the governance and oversight, and that is the Parliamentary Registrar's Office, which is an independent administrator and regulator of the elections, but adding more, potentially adding more teeth to how she operates. Well, the Parliamentary Registrar just happens to be a female now, but how that office operates and how they conduct elections as we move forward. So those are the four election day processes: campaign and election, finance, and governance and oversight. So those are the four pillars that drive what it is that we're doing as we move forward.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're turning over to the audience now. We have one question from Traveling Trotty who says, with PIPA, why do they have to call out our names when voting for political parties in attendance?
Thank you for that. And I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding about what PIPA is. What PIPA is it protects your data. However, if you are knowledgeable, or you've been told that this is what your data is going to be used for, then it can be used for that very process. The fact that your name is called out and it is verified by the parties, and our laws allow for everyone that is running to have someone in the room to verify that that person is actually a voter on the list. That increases the transparency, that increases the integrity of our elections versus having just the Parliamentary Registrar verify. So having the name called out is just a matter of allowing a third party, in this case, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth parties, to verify that that person actually does exist and is on the register. It also allows for challenges, which are very rare in Bermuda, but challenges to be raised, because if you're a candidate and you've been out canvassing, one of the many issues we have is Bermuda is a transit society, and persons are moving all the time. But the last thing they're thinking about is, how do I update my voter registration? That person may have moved from that location many, many years before, but have never updated their registration. And so it allows for challenges to be put forth to say, hey, Jamal Hartman has showed up, but I have evidence that he doesn't live where he's registered to live. And then there's a different process that goes amongst that goes forward from that. Part of what we're doing now is, how does that process become, how do we first make sure the rolls are as accurate as possible on the election day? And second, how do we clarify if there are going to be challenges? So that is why those names are called out. So simply just so you can have third-party validation that that person does exist.
Mm-hmm. Charles H. Jeffers II is asking, with a number of Bermudians leaving to live in other places, does the minister see a benefit of giving Bermudians living outside of Bermuda the right to vote and have representation by having one MP in the House?
Again, that kind of touches on some of what we're doing. It also touches on constitutional reform. That's a question that actually hasn't come up, and perhaps it may have come up in the last town hall meeting, but as I said, I'm still shifting through that particular data. But I have heard that about, what about persons who are Bermudian but don't live here? That is one of those things that we describe as baby steps that we have to have conversation around. But I can note that it also has been mentioned that in virtually every other country, if you are not a tax-paying resident of the country, then you're not voting. And so, but that is something that has not been the focus of what we're doing. And so I can't speak to any research around that. But I'm not naive enough to say that that's probably not something that will come up in conversation in further reiterations of the work that we're doing.
But Minister, I mean, I'm a tax-paying Bermudian, and they still remove me. But it's not about me. But go ahead, Teresa.
But I mean, it might be about you, though.
You say that it isn't about you. Currently, the law is very clear. If you have to you have to be present in Bermuda and prove that you're present in Bermuda at least once every 6 months to maintain your residence on the roll. So literally, if you fly back in, if you come back to Bermuda if you're going for 6 months extended, if you're going for 6 months in a year, you're eligible to be removed from the voter roll for that year, and then you have to come and prove that you've been in Bermuda subsequently to be re-added. That is something, and that's one nuance that a lot of people don't really get, and it's something that we definitely need to have a look at how that process works smoother than it does now. Because Jamal, quite honestly, there are persons who inexplicably are removed because of that fact, and there are persons who inexplicably are not removed because of that fact. And there's a process for the parliamentary registrar to go through. And I recall and also remember, the only person that can remove someone from the parliamentary roll is the parliamentary registrar, and that is outside of any political influence. Because the parliamentary registrar reports directly. It's like those independent, what we call independent officers that report directly to the governor, the auditor general, and the like. They report to the governor, and they do not report to the government of the day.
One quick thing before you go back to the audience is I have this Black History edition of Bermuda Trivia here, and one of the questions in it was. Well, it's actually the trivia question for today, so I can't say it. But
why not?
Because I'll give you the answer. You crazy. But
then he'd have to find another one within 10 minutes.
Exactly. But it goes to what Charles II saying. Although the government doesn't make that decision, it's the decision of the registrar. Requiring voters to be taxpayers is dangerous. It hardens back to the days of having to earn property to vote. And that's my exact thought, was when I was like, well, I pay taxes, but even that shouldn't determine, because then we're going back in time where you have to have property, and it's discriminatory. I think as long as we have a passport that says you are, well, doesn't say Bermudian, to be honest, British overseas territory. So that, like, I think we have to fix that. And again, I don't want to make this about me, but it concerns me that it's so loose. And I think we've got love for the registrar, Miss Tanae Woolrich. We did have her on 2 years ago, and I appreciated the conversation, and it just didn't seem like the process, in my opinion, was something that was well thought out. It didn't seem like there was any real structure to it, because, and I don't want to call people out, but when I was removed, someone who had lived outside of Bermuda longer than me was still on there. And so I was like, man, I wonder if I would have a case against the registrar. You know what I'm saying? But again, at the time, I didn't care as much. Now I have a business in Bermuda. I have family. My nieces, nephew are growing, and I would love to have a say in the country I love, in which I continue to hire Bermudians, young Bermudians, bring them on board. I don't think that me paying taxes should determine that. I think my love and my contribution to the community should do that. So hopefully this is part of the conversation and the steps that we take, as you've mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it from I do see it from both lenses. And Jamal, what I do find interesting is that I believe that you visit Bermuda more than twice a year. So not sure why you couldn't petition to be added back onto the register, because that would prove that you've been in Bermuda. You haven't been gone for 6 months, and I call it 6 months and a day in order to be removed. The removal process is someone has to complain that says, hey, this person doesn't live in Bermuda. The registrar then does their due diligence checks, and I can't speak to all of the checks that they do, but I know you got to put something publicly in the newspaper to say, hey, this person has been said they don't live in this location, or they moved from Bermuda, and you are now given an opportunity to respond. And I guess this kind of goes back to something one of the callers had said about the PIPA stuff, and one of the parts of that is the contact information is just not useful in some cases. So if the parliamentary registrar is trying to contact you to say, hey, someone has said you haven't been in Bermuda for 2 years and they're emailing you because you moved, they're calling you, but you've changed your number and they just can't get in touch with you, then the logical thing is, well, perhaps they have gone. So part of this also ties into my digital innovation part of my portfolio. And when we talk about the work that we're doing now to establish a one-stop shop for Bermuda government, which allows, in theory will allow each Bermudian a single sign-on for government services. And when you make an update, it updates throughout all government services versus just how it works now. You TCD, you have one address. You go to Pension Commission, you have one address. You go to Social Insurance, you have one, and unless you are ready to go to all of these different departments to change your information, you'll end up with one name, one birth date, but various pieces of ways to contact you that actually don't, with systems that don't talk to each other as it is present. But one of the stances that we do get is elections have consequences, and while you're voting for the person you wish or the person or party, depending on how you look at it, that you think is carries your best interest, at the end of the day, you are voting for a government that's going to be spending public finances, and if you are not given any contribution to those public finances, and trust me, I'm not speaking my thoughts. I'm saying what some of the arguments on the other side are. If you are not contributing to those public finances, it's should you have a say on who gets to spend those public finances. So as I said, I'm not speaking my thoughts on it because my position is I just have to gather everybody's thoughts and then come up with a policy based on what is the best thing to move forward.
Yeah. Okay, one more question from the audience. Taj Danver Otterbridge says, can the minister give us some insight into why it has taken so long to initiate this electoral reform, especially in relation to campaign financing, as it has been on the party platform, the PLP's party platform, since 2017?
And I thank you for that question. All I can say is that it's happening now. I cannot speak as I've been pushed to drive this through the Ministry for Cabinet Office and Digital Innovation. It is something that I intend to see through to the very end. So I can't speak to why it hasn't been moved forward, but I can say that it's being moved forward now.
All righty. And just go through a few comments about, well, Nika the Shield says about time. It's great that's happened. Ellen Kate Horton says many persons have passports going back many years. We have to be very careful about opening it up. I agree with you, Jamal, with the issue of paying tax. And she says there are people who receive status during our segregated days. So I understand the security issues. I definitely get that. Minister, for those who may not basically have been able to attend one of the town halls, can you just let people know if there's still an opportunity to communicate their concerns? How can they learn more about what this is going to look like? September literally is right around the corner. So any information you can provide to the audience today about next steps would be helpful.
Yes, we also intend to put something up on forums.gov.bm to allow persons, it's essentially will be the same presentation that we had at our town hall to allow people to send in information in. We do have, and what I'll do, Jamal, is send it to you. I'll have Shamari send it to you, a sign up list of how you can actually sign up to be on the mailing list, so we can send you information. I think, Ms. Tall, you are on the list, or you're not on the, I'm not sure, but I know Youth Connect is on the list. So there is,
yes, Youth Connect is on the list.
Is on the list. So there is, and so that's where we'll start sending out more. We'll send out once we've tabulated all of this information, and we'll start sending out what next steps are, because we'll be looking for persons to come on board of the working group to actually start looking at this information and pulling it together. As I said, right now we're having some research done on campaign financing, which we anticipate that being completed by the end of February, so we can move forward with the rest of the things that we wish to do. The slide deck is public. Anyone that wants it can have it. There's no secrets within that, because I know when you go to these presentations, people are taking pictures of the screen and stuff. I always say, anybody who wants to start that can certainly have it, and that I'll make sure that a link to that is on the forums page as well as sending it out to everyone that's on the mailing list. And so we will continue to receive comments. One thing I've learned from my previous portfolio is everybody can comment, but while everyone's idea may not be used, we still want to hear your comments because it helps form the final policy and helps form and shape what the final policies can look like.
Real quickly, Minister, to answer the question publicly, and people will know from my background, I am in Bermuda every other month. I think I should publicly as well. The truth is, I'm more productive outside of Bermuda because I'm not pulled in different directions. But I pretty much live between those places. That's the reality of my life at this point, which I'm very grateful for. And it's a privilege that I don't take for granted. I think having the right to vote, as long as it's not taken away from anyone. Obviously, we haven't touched on it today, but it's a big conversation in the United States right now, like voter ID and right to vote. I mean, here in Atlanta, Georgia, where I am, the FBI federal agents just raided Fulton County, which is the county in which I vote. So it's a lot. People want to get rid of the mail-in ballots, which it makes sense to have mail-in ballots for the U.S. because they have so many people who, like maybe in the military, people who live outside the country for periods of time. It makes sense. I understand why Bermuda may be hesitant in the beginning for doing mail-in ballots, but I'm always cautious, and this is where I think I maybe take the side of the government in this. I am cautious of fraud when it comes to anything that involves the well-being of the community. And so whatever the government decides, yes, I have always been a fan of having absentee, the opportunity for people unable to be present to vote. But we definitely need to make sure that, what's that saying? Oh, the T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
All I's are dotted, T's are crossed.
Seriously,
well, I will tell you that we've been looking at what some online balloting could look like. Very impressed with the security protocols and things that are in place. And one of the things that we are committed to is, and probably with the working group, is have sort of test run polling to actually test that process, so to gain the public confidence that this is the type of stuff that they can be used to. I mean, in today's world, the technology that's used to verify your identity is absolutely phenomenal. The type of security we have, blockchain security and different things like that is absolutely phenomenal. I will tell you, I opened a bank account last year without seeing anybody in person. And so I just thought, wow, it has come a long way. That's something I probably was able to do in the U.S. before I left school, before I left the university in the mid-90s. And now we have that process that's actually in place that verifies your identity and all of that completely online without ever having to actually see a person. And so the technology does exist. We just have to ensure that we approach it the right way.
Yeah. All right, Minister. This has been a helpful conversation, and I think Shamari, actually, he's on the show tomorrow too.
You guys set that up?
We got the schedule until the weekend prior, so I did not know we were having back to back. But Shamari's on this. But this is the link you were referring to, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is the link. What we'll do is pretty that up and send something that person can type in. Like bit.ly electoral reform feedback, something along those lines, and and make sure and get that out.
And I look forward to the conversation with him tomorrow. But I want to ask you this before we head out. One more question. I swear this is the last one. I'll let you go. Don't want to hold you.
But as you said, this is my job. I don't mind asking questions at all. Answering questions. That is the fun part of my job.
Fair enough. So I'm surrounded by people who are much younger than me. When I say much younger than me, I was finished high school when these guys were born. We're talking to Ray and Maya and Taj, right? How important in pushing or reform like this is it to have younger people like the Shamari Talbot Woolrich in this space as you're looking to do this? Obviously, his generation sees things very differently.
I think it's critically important, Jamal. When the election was called, and it was a furor about it, when it was called, and you know, and the disenfranchising of our persons who were overseas. One of the first things I did was look at my register for my constituency, and I was shocked that I had less than 20 persons registered under the age of 24. And so I said, okay, it's less than 20 people. And I do kudos to the parties that did a concerned effort. When I say parties, not just political parties, but other parties that did a concerned effort to go and get persons registered who may have otherwise just not bothered to register. I can say at last check, me and Shamari checked the Parliamentary Registrar right now, out of the 45,000 people that are registered to vote, around, I think it's around between 16 and 1,700 of them are under the age of 24. I would hope that there are more of them out there, and we just need to reach them. The stuff that we're doing now, the stuff that we do as politicians, it's not just for some. While some of it is for the instant, some of it brings instant gratification, like paving a road that makes people happy today. But some of it is also about creating policies that are going to affect generations of people to come. So it's critically important that all persons that are eligible to vote come out, learn what they can about the candidates, about the parties, and about the policies, and about their common ethos, because that's always going to drive what it is that they bring forward, and ensure that you are aligning yourself with someone that actually supports your ethos, not just for the things that you can see right now, but the things that are going to become in place, that are going to be put in place, that are going to affect you for years and years to come. So it starts with education. I think one of the sessions we had with students was really interesting, because we actually leaned back. Me and Shamari lean back and listen to them kind of debate amongst each other of why they should become politically educated on the various things. You know, there was one person on there was like, I'm a student. What do I care what happens in Bermuda? Why do I need to vote? And so it was very interesting to see that dynamic happen between them. And we probably had about 12 or 14 students online. They have them go back and forth. But I think we as political parties need to do a better job of educating the public itself. It starts at home as well. Parents doing a better job at educating their children on the political process, not just you must vote for this person, but the actual process and how this stuff works. It always baffles me when I listen to adults, or I look at the blogs, or I even shows like yours, and I look at comments and say, wow, this person is older than me, and they actually don't fully understand how this thing works. You know, and so, well, if your grandmother or your grandfather don't fully understand, how do you expect their children, and then their grandchildren, and then their great-great-grandchildren to understand? And so we all as a community, I believe, need to do a better job of educating and getting them to know that their voice is critically important to these processes, and which I think would make them more enthusiastic to come on and vote.
As you were speaking just now, it made me think, and I don't know if it was the late Walton Brown who first mentioned this in conversation, but one of the groups of people I never hear about being included, having a right to vote, and maybe the audience is going to think I'm crazy for saying this, because you're probably going to be like, no, they lost their privilege. But there are people in Westgate, right? Imprisoned Bermudians. In the U.S., I believe if you're convicted of a felony, you lose your right to vote. Obviously, that's not the same in Bermuda.
It out there is state by state. Some states reinstate it, some states don't.
But with Bermuda, is it something that we would be willing to have a conversation about in terms of like making sure those who are incarcerated have a right to vote, because technically they're not off the,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is that part of conversation, or has that not come up?
It actually hasn't come up, but thank you for mentioning it. Again, that is something that we'll add to the list. Is that something we should take a look at? Because we're in the grand scheme of things, you're looking at Bermudian elections are won by the slimmest of margins. I heard you earlier on when you mentioned about the One Bermuda Alliance winning. The One Bermuda Alliance won constituency 2 in 2012 by 4 votes.
Yeah.
And when you really think about it, that is 3 votes that could have made the difference between one Bermuda Alliance government or a basically a hung parliament. So it is important and to get as many votes as you can through the door. I have a funny story about that, but I'll certainly tell you offline about those 4 particular votes, because they did move that family who voted for the One Bermuda Alliance for the first time ever moved into my constituency after that election. And their comments after the fact were quite telling, which kind of reinforced something that you were saying earlier when you were talking about what's going on now with the One Bermuda Alliance. But having the incarcerated persons have their right to vote reinstated, it's a conversation that we can have, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Minister, I just implore you to really look through those Western notes, because this came up at the Western Town Hall. Ms. Ellen Kate Horton says I brought it up in the Somerset meeting, but this did come up. So hopefully, we'd love to see some movement on it.
Okay.
No,
thank you for that. Thank you for that, Ms. Horton.
Yeah. Minister, thanks again for making time. So the website's forms.office.com.
No, forms.gov.bm is where we post polls and questionnaires and stuff.
Right.
The government, you'll see a bunch of things. So when ministries look to collect information from the general public, that's where we had our signs and banners thing. That was.
Right. Oh, yes.
Literally had 100 people respond, which is phenomenal in Bermuda terms, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is. Well, Minister, thank you so much for the conversation this morning. I really hope, audience, you found it helpful. I think this reform's long overdue. So we'll be, keeping our ears to the ground in terms of the developments. And don't worry, Teray mentioned September for a reason, because she will be on you if you don't.
And Jamal, what I'll do is I'll have Shamari draft up something and perhaps send it to you, and we can have some discussions about it being part of one of your logos for at least for a couple of weeks, so persons can still sign up and send us their comments.
Sounds good, Minister. Appreciate you very much. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for making time for us.
Yeah.
No problem, and thank you, Bermuda, for listening. Thank you, Ms. Toll, and thank you, Jamal.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Minister.
Minister Diallo Rabain, folks, if you appreciated that conversation and you are streaming with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, actual Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We're going to take our final break. After this break, we've got it's a voting question. Black history voting question.
Okay.
I just gave you the answer. Stick with us. I gave you the answer for a reason, but don't mess it up. Stick with us. We'll be back in a few.
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's Loan Guarantee Program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Nova's Ark Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
For over 70 years, Bermuda Pest Control has been protecting homes and businesses island-wide. We offer a full suite of services, including rodent control, termite fumigation, and general insect control and maintenance. Our team of experts will quickly and efficiently eliminate any pest problem you may have. With Bermuda Pest Control, you can enjoy a pest-free home in no time. We're committed to providing fast, reliable, and solution-driven services for our customers. It's what we've been doing since 1952. Call Bermuda Pest Control today and say goodbye to pests for good.
Every space has a message, whether it's a store, a government office, or a doctor's waiting room. With Store Tunes Radio, transform your environment with customized music and professional messaging that keeps people informed, engaged, and at ease. Easy to use, built for organizations of every kind. Powered by Bermuda Communications Group. Store Tunes Radio, the soundtrack to better customer experiences. Visit storetunesradio.com to learn more.
The Office of Consumer Affairs protects residents by promoting fairness, safety, and transparency in the marketplace across the island. We investigate complaints, manage recalls, educate the public, and enforce consumer protection laws to ensure fair treatment for all. Our team supports consumers by resolving disputes, providing guidance, and helping residents understand their rights and responsibilities. We work with businesses to encourage compliance, ethical practices, and trust, helping create a stable and competitive economy. Through education, enforcement, and outreach, Consumer Affairs helps keep Bermuda's marketplace safe, informed, and accountable.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to the Honorable Diallo Rabain, Minister for the Cabinet Office and Digital Innovation, for stopping by and having a conversation about what I would say is a topic that Teray is very passionate about. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House Lenders, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075, ensuring we can pump through the radio airwaves with these most important community conversations. Folks, if you haven't already and you're streaming with us, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, Teray, it's Bermuda Black History Trivia. Are you ready?
Okay, I think so.
All right, it's easy, folks. Richard Tucker became one of the first Black people in Bermuda to do what as a property owner?
To vote?
Yeah, it just makes sense. And I think that is a huge part of the conversation in Charles's comments, property to vote, and the question does make sense for this conversation. But yeah, Richard Tucker became one of the first Black people in Bermuda to vote as a property owner. Not the first, but one of the first. Teray, let's wrap it up. Gotta head out. But as far as the discussion and the OBA, and then the discussion with the minister regarding modernizing our electoral system.
First, for the OBA, I hope that people were listening. The OBA was listening, because I think if you're going through a period of change, you should really be tapped into what people are saying. And I think that's one of the major complaints people have about the OBA. It's like they don't listen, they feel like untethered from reality, or at least they look untethered from reality. So my reflection is the work for the OBA really starts now. And I hope Ben Smith does a really good job at rebuilding, acknowledging the situation, and coming out better. Because no matter if you're the staunchest PLP supporter, or the staunchest FDM supporter, or the staunchest supporter of the independents, most Bermudians would agree that we need a strong opposition. So whether or not we are OBA supporters, we're rooting for you, and we want you to do well, because your success could be Bermuda's success. So really they're at a turning point, and I hope they recognize that. On the conversation with the minister, I think was very refreshing, honestly. I appreciated the way he responded to the absence, his absence at the Western Town Hall. And it's interesting, and I'm going to be watching closely. I'm generally excited for electoral reform for more than one reason. But yeah, I feel hopeful, and I appreciated his candor. And I'm looking forward to the updates.
Indeed. I agree. Like I said, Mr. King kind of rubbed me the wrong way at that town hall. He didn't come to listen. He came to be seen and heard. And I think when you enter politics, you have to do a lot of listening and understanding. And so my hope is that the new leadership operates a bit differently they engage a bit differently. I know there are some who say that, people are upset within the OBA because the party members voted for him. Things happen. This is part of the process. I think I agree with comments, I believe, that were attributed to Michael Dunkley, where, it's part of the process. It's some are saying this too shall pass. I just think, and I think I speak for most people, regardless, like you said, of political affiliation, is we want a strong government. And to have a strong government, you need a strong opposition. So the OBA, as someone said earlier, has a lot of talent within their ranks. You've got some really quality people. They need to be able to express themselves in ways that are going to be helpful to Bermuda. And my hope is that this happens under the leadership of Ben Smith. As far as the conversation with Minister Rabain, look, this is long overdue, as I mentioned. It's an important conversation to so many young people. Last year, this time, you all were had a petition going to fly in to vote. A lot can happen within a year. I know Teray, audience, Teray. If things ain't happened by September, if this has not happened by September, I guarantee you will hear her loud and out front. And I love that about her. I love that about this young generation, to show that, no, they still care. They still care. And so hopefully people continue to give feedback, and the minister and the government remain open to communication and consideration of what can improve Bermuda's electoral system. Teray, do you have any daily inspiration for us?
I do. This one is from Nelson Mandela, and it's kind of an ode to Black History Month. And it says, "For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains in a physical sense, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others."
I like that. Good one. Good one. All right.
Shout out to Mandela.
You gotta head out. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, HSBC Bermuda, Medical House, Lindo's, People's Pharmacy, and big love to Hot 1075 for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Teray Tall. I'm Jamel Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.